Hello. Will artificial intelligence become a problem for humanity? If yes, can this problem be solved? It is evident that uncontrolled development of artificial intelligence will cause difficulties, which collectively could lead to a crisis. I don't believe that something once invented can be forgotten and pretended as if it was never invented. It doesn't work that way. It never has. Let's recall the main risks of implementing advanced artificial intelligence and think about how to prevent them from becoming a problem. So neural networks can learn anything that can be expressed in words. They can see, understand, and depict everything that can be described in words. I have explained how so-called language models work. ChatGPT is a large language model, and it's these and similar ones that we fear the most. Although a neural network only selects a set of words in response to another set of words, it easily finds patterns and similarities within this selection, which means it can generalize and predict. This is pure mathematics, and there is no divine intelligence in it. However, if a person has spent many years learning, accumulating experience, and now applies this experience and knowledge for recommendations and forecasts, a neural network can master this work effortlessly. It is said that by 2030, artificial intelligence will displace 300 million people from jobs worldwide. It's quite possible that this figure is an underestimate. Essentially, this could be all intellectual workers who do not use creativity, and by some estimates, this is 95% of them. Interestingly, this time the countries with the highest percentage of intellectual workers will suffer the most. The paradox is that the more educated and experienced a person is, the greater their chances of losing their job. And these are usually well-off people with families. In short, it's grim. The crisis in the intellectual labor market is the most striking risk, but it's not the only one. Artificial intelligence has long been used in search information systems, and few know what it does there. It's fair to suspect that the algorithms for information retrieval are set up to sell us something. This is called, for example, shaping market trends. But the essence is that we are given information in such a set and sequence to make something attractive to us. A product, service, country, philosophy, morals, lifestyle, person. And conversely, to repel us from something. We are manipulated through information. With developed and trained artificial intelligence, these manipulations will reach perfection. Moreover, fake information will be produced at such a level that checking its authenticity will take longer than its shelf life. Does this sound complicated? Let me explain. Information consists of data, facts, as they are often called. Information won't be complete without a sufficient amount of data. There's a separate video where I talk about this. Imagine that several facts in a set are invented or replaced with invented ones so that the facts themselves look credible and the information picture complete and logical. But with quality forgery, it may have nothing to do with reality. Artificial intelligence will provide such a level of falsification that distinguishing and checking fake facts will be very difficult, and by the time of verification, all the information will lose its relevance. The combination of biased selection and falsification of information will create a flawless manipulation machine. As a result, we will happily and unanimously do what the shepherds want. Probably, through skillful manipulations, we will be convinced that giving up work to artificial intelligence is also happiness. We use biometrics in our phones, facial and fingerprint recognition. Some access systems use voice recognition through the utterance of code phrases. It is said that in China, face recognition works in street cameras, offices, and public places. There are 7 billion smartphones on Earth for 8 billion people. Even if we turn off GPS, our location can be approximately determined by communication towers. Handwriting is almost irrelevant as a means of identification. But our writing style, communication, vocabulary, favorite words, and speech turns characterize us just as well. Our car's number plate is clear to traffic cameras and can easily be read not only for violations. Let's add that we voluntarily, so to speak, identify ourselves every time we make purchases and pay with a bank card. This is a gigantic stream of information. But if we have resources for neural networks with trillions of parameters and high-speed 5G quickly becomes widespread, why not, so to speak, for the public good? Collect this information and teach artificial intelligence to identify patterns in it, essentially, easily tracking the path of any person and all their actions. Even the excuse is magnificent, in the interest of public safety. Now let's remember the cloning of phones and voices, and recall the neural networks that can draw any photos of any people in any place. This is total control that no fantasist could dream of. The big guys have long dreamed of it, and artificial intelligence will become the long-awaited tool. I won't lecture on the importance of the stock market for capitalism. Capitalism as a system is already limping, but as long as the stock prices of public companies remain an indicator and stimulus, it's significant. Many commissions ensure that supply and demand are purely market-driven. Receiving non-market advantages is severely punished, guarding the sanctity of capitalism. However, it is perfectly legal to predict the prospects of price increases or decreases and trade stocks, making money on it. There has long been so-called technical analysis, where forecasts are built on pure mathematics. But the main trends are still based on so-called fundamental analysis, and trends are formed on its basis. The application of artificial intelligence capable of identifying trends and tendencies from the sum of technical and fundamental data will overturn the stock market world. The use of artificial intelligence may become so successful that it devalues subjective human participation, and the market will die. Its fluctuations will be anticipated, smoothed out, mechanisms of public financing will stop. This will be the collapse of capitalism, which has been struggling in recent decades. It will be the end of Western civilization as we know it. I won't go into depth as much has been written about this, but I would be happy to discuss other opinions in the comments to this video. There is a lot of debate around this prospect. Why not join in? And lastly, but not least in importance, autonomous weapons controlled by artificial intelligence. About 10 years ago, I read that developed countries supposedly agreed not to produce such weapons. They agreed quietly and secretly, so as not to alarm the public. They generally try not to scare us so that we can graze peacefully and not be distracted. Recently, there was a flash news that Turkey is preparing for the mass production of an unmanned fighter controlled by artificial intelligence. It flashed and somehow disappeared. However, right now, drones and cruise missiles above our heads are performing maneuvers that would be more suitable for neural network control, not human. Robotizing battlefield weapons is not that difficult. A target can be identified, for example, by its thermal signature and a friend or foe sensor. If a good marksman with a rifle hits more than a dozen targets in less than a minute, then what to say about a system that identifies targets and aims at them, essentially in parallel? And the accuracy of hitting targets is basically a technical and already solved problem. Humans have no place next to robots on the battlefield. It's not at all necessary to create the notorious Skynet. For conducting combat, you don't need much intelligence, you need reflexes and preferably less emotion. The intelligence of autonomous robots will fit under their armor, and they can easily be sent to a sector with the order to destroy everything that moves, is warm, and shoots. The absence of centralized control is even an advantage, as it cannot be hijacked. But in the absence of centralized control, a killer robot cannot be stopped either. So, robots under human control will start, learn on the go, and gradually need humans less and less. And then someone will not resist the temptation to replace commanders with neural networks. And there it is, Skynet. In general, this will change the conduct of warfare. It might even make war senseless, if not for the fact that the victor will be the one with more money and better robots. And most military personnel will also be out of work. Scientists with rich imaginations sounded the alarm several years ago. Even a year ago, I personally brushed off this panic, but now I see that it was in vain. Something needs to be done to at least soften the arrival of artificial intelligence in our already restless world. There are many different opinions and suggestions. I will summarize them in my overview. If the above risks were quite controversial, then the various measures are mostly contrived and invented, and of course subjective. However, project methodologies teach us to prepare for overcoming risks, even if their probability is not 100%. First of all, everything I say next should be formalized as international laws under the auspices of an effective international organization. Moreover, so effective that it should have the right to physically destroy an enterprise or scientific center where these laws are violated. Sort of a control commission, COMCON 2, if you understand what I mean. These laws must be particularly strict until a new ethic emerges that takes into account the participation of artificial intelligence, until the nascent philosophy of coexistence with it becomes stronger. One of the main demands of the alarmists is to halt the growth of universal AI systems. We need to stop scaling up neural networks and refining their training. I am specifically talking about universal systems because the most comprehensive information is used for their training. As I said, we don't understand how self-awareness and free will are acquired. Good for those who believe in their divine origin. But what if they can arise due to the sufficient complexity of a neural network and as a result of our experiments with training? I mentioned that the largest neural network has 1 trillion parameters, and our brain has at least 16 trillion. The difference is huge, but with the approach of quantum computing, it may become realistically surmountable. If we continue to develop artificial intelligence systems at this pace, we may accidentally give life to artificial consciousness. Even if the likelihood is small, should we test it? Neural networks should stop being universal and learning from all knowledge available to humanity. Such erudition creates the illusion of intelligence and humanization. We already anthropomorphize any machines, even household vacuum cleaners. This point complements the previous one. If we need to keep universal systems, then their development should be stopped or strictly restrained. If we need to develop systems, then they should be specialized. Let there be robots, medical consultants, robots, legal assistants, robots advisors in specific knowledge areas, but they should be informationally confined within their expertise. A complex last phrase, but very precise. A medical robot should not know anything beyond what is needed for diagnosis and treatment. A tech support robot should not know anything beyond the necessary technical information, and so on. It's hard to anthropomorphize a narrowly specialized reference system. In my opinion, certain professions should be temporarily or permanently banned for robots. There's a lot of ambiguity here, and this topic needs research. For now, prohibitions on systems commanding autonomous weapons, managing dangerous productions, critical data seem apparent. I believe that artificial intelligence should never directly provide certain advice to its subjects. For example, announcing a diagnosis or prescribing treatment. There was a recent news flash about a robot that advised a patient to commit suicide. This is an extreme case, of course, but life-critical information should be communicated by a person with empathy and responsibility. It's necessary to clearly define areas where decision-making and communication should remain human. Artificial intelligence should not be given control over its own power supply. This must be an absolute law and strictly monitored. There must be a guaranteed ability to turn off any system if its behavior is harmful to humans or even just unusual. Security and access control devices should not be managed by the artificial intelligence they serve. Artificial intelligence should not have the means to protect itself from people. I understand that I'm venturing into the realm of science fiction thrillers here, but this is the second factor in controlling the system. The first was power supply. The third will be discussed next. Data collection systems have algorithms for connecting to their storage locations. That is, artificial intelligence will have some logic for establishing connections with other systems, including unfamiliar ones. This is logical. It is also logical that artificial intelligence systems will be able to exchange parameter settings as a result of training, i.e., communicate. Communication between systems can lead to the formation of a metasystem possessing the combined knowledge of several systems. Do you see where I'm going with this? As far as I know, neural networks cannot yet exchange knowledge, but they soon will be able to, following the logic of development. So, people must retain the unconditional ability to disconnect any or all data exchange lines of artificial intelligence systems. This should be as unconditional as control over power, access, and protection. It seems to me that we will have to review all this very soon. We're talking about years, which is tomorrow in historical terms. But the preparation process, as usual, has two sides. We need to think about limiting artificial intelligence systems, but we also need to consider our own human learning and development. We need to change to live alongside artificial intelligence, even with full control over it. How to do this, we'll discuss next time.